This is the Friday, August 24th, 2012 version of the Market Plus segment. Joining us now are Sue Martin and Jamie Kawaki. Welcome back, guys.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you here. It's been a busy week in the markets, and we've got a couple of questions here submitted from Twitter that we didn't get to on the show. And Sue, I was wondering if you could speak to a little bit the percentage of ethanol plants that are closing, or how that might affect DDGs going into this winter. What do you see going on there?
Well, I think that the dependency of whether they close or stay working depends on the ability to secure corn from the farmer and the area they're in. If it's in a really hard-hit area, they may not have a choice, or they're going to have to bring it in from somewhere else. I think that one has to look at this and assess it. You have to look at the price of RBOB and the price of ethanol on the board, and then you have to assess, will they keep processing or not? The key is going to be that there's a lot of farmers that sold corn way too early this year because, let's face it, everybody thought there was a lot of acres out there and there was no reason that the market would rally. And they went ahead and marketed too aggressively and maybe thought they were only 50, 60% sold. Farmers in the U.S. are basically in the same boat that the South American farmer found themselves in this past growing season. And they're going to find that when it's all said and done, that they're probably 80% sold, or maybe even higher, around 90. And the situation is they're going to have to deliver. Nobody's going to let them out of that one. They need the corn. So there's a situation there that is concerning. Bless them that they have crop insurance, but still, bottom line is you got to come up with the product. And I think that as we go down the road, in time, we're going to see ethanol, not ethanol, but DDGs get higher price than corn. But we export a lot of DDGs to China, and China's demand for protein is going to be huge. And what might happen is at some point, if they can't secure enough protein from us, be it whether it's soy meal or whatever, they just flat buy the product from us, be it whether it's pork or beef.
And now that kind of, I got a follow-up question for you there. The past couple of weeks we've been seeing less than exciting news out of China regarding their growth prospects. What would a slowdown in China mean for the commodities here in America, especially protein-related commodities?
Well, usually it would mean that our markets would be very sensitive to that and worry that because if they're slowing down, that they'll be able to buy less from us. The one problem you've got is they may be slowing down, but they're going to feed their people. And that means that they'll have to buy from us in one way or another, just like they just bought 55,000 metric tons of soy oil this week.
So it's less of a threat than people might perceive?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it's a less of a threat when it comes to food, but maybe in other markets it might not be.
All right. Jamie, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about corn and aflatoxin specifically. What are your thoughts there? How much is that going to affect the market as we go through harvest?
Aflatoxin?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Okay.
Obviously, the heat and the dryness caused it. The big player there. There'll be people getting heavily docked, of course, 20, 30 cents. Who knows how heavy, but it's going to be a big player, especially down south. I think it'd be a lot worse than it is up north of I-80.
Okay. All right. So is that going to have effect on the market, do you think, if we get the combines rolling and there's substantially more aflatoxin than there was in previous years?
I don't think so. It's a big market mover at all here short term. I think it could be more of a player trying to find feed maybe down the road for a hog or cattle guy, but I don't see a big change right now.
All right, we've got another corn question. This one's from down in Kansas City. He was wondering, should we go long on corn? And guys reporting that much of the corn around the year is already being baled.
Yeah, I think we're past the stage of if you're not long, you're wrong. I think we're past that. I would stay flat or maybe even look at a quick short position for 20, 30 cents and be back out of it.
Okay.
I think all that's factored in right now. The terrible yields, the 40, 50% cut down south is factored in right now. I think we need to hear more yields up north, and that's probably 2 to 3 weeks away.
Okay.
But I think corn does go higher longer term, up through the 849 mark, the old high right now, and a lot of that be spillover from the bean market. Beans will be the leader, I think, for the next 6 to 9 months, depending on what happens down in South America, moisture-wise, and how their crop goes in this fall.
All right, and we got another question here, and Sue, I'm gonna ask this of you. This is from Dan in Kansas, is asking, how do you think South American crop production prospects during December, March may affect April, May U.S. crop plantings? Is that going to have much of an effect? Do folks up here pay a lot of attention to what's going on in South America when they're in the field?
No, I think what it'll do is it'll have an effect on basically price movement as
Okay.
to what their crop prospects are, because it'll once their crop comes on deck, they're going to have huge acres, and once if they can get that to fruition and have a good crop, then they've got the logistic problem of getting it to port, getting it on ships, and moved. If there were, this is just my own anticipation, but if there was ever a year, and there's already been some rumblings of problems, that the stevedores would strike, it'd be this one.
Okay.
Because they would have everybody by the throat. And so I think we watch that. They usually do that in about April. But I think that when we come into our growing season, or like towards February to March this year, we're going to have the thought process of huge corn acres again, and of course, big bean acres, but we're going to have a big acreage fight this next year. We're going to have a lot of wheat acres because they're going to farm the insurance. But on the backside of that, you might pick up some bean acres, but I think you're going to have a huge acreage fight. And the key is, how much moisture do we pick up to fill that Mississippi River back up to get it so that we can move fertilizer north so that farmers can decide, are we going to plant more corn acres or what's going to happen here? You know, that's a key also that may let them be wide open in their decisions into late winter.
Okay. All right. So we've got another 4 or 5 months to wait for that Mississippi to refill, basically.
Exactly. It just
Okay.
depends on how much moisture you get. And of course, like I say, El Nino tends to favor the south with moisture than more so up here in the wintertime. So we'll see. That's the one thing we can't really afford. We need moisture now to help work on next year's crops.
All right. And with that in mind, Jamie, have you talked to people about pricing any of next year's crop yet, or is it too early to?
No, we've talked about it, looked at it.
Okay.
Actually, did make some sales, a tiny little bit at 6.5 for the red D's. We'll make some more 680, 710 area, you know, somewhere right in there, hopefully sometime this winter. But back to the transportation issues on the Mississippi, 9 foot deep as of about 3 weeks ago, north of St. Louis. They were dredging it, trying everything they could to get the barges to
Yeah.
roll. But 9 foot deep in the Mississippi in the middle of August is unheard of.
And if it keeps falling, how much farther can it fall before we actually run into a severe transportation issue?
Well,
I
you
think
could be
we're
railing.
close.
Okay.
We'll see a lot of stuff railed is
Okay.
what's going to happen.
All right. So
And
we
that
won't
puts
be
cost up.
landlocked. It'll just cost a little more money, and we'll probably have to
Exactly.
see that reflected in the price.
That's very
The
probably
pricing
true.
issue, what's funny is the hog guys out east are importing corn from Brazil. It's cheaper for them to go to Brazil than it is to have it trucked or out or railed out from the Midwest.
Isn't
Wow.
that interesting?
That is. Anything else you guys really want to talk about today? Jamie, any final thoughts?
I'd just be nimble in here. It's going to be wild markets. I think for the next, till next year, planting-wise, I agree with Sue, it's going to be an acreage fight, huge corn acres. I'd be taking advantage of rallies in the
Okay.
cash market and be really nimble.
All right. Sue?
Well, I think if we thought in 2008 that $25 Minneapolis wheat was a surprise, think what this next year could hold for soybean prices, corn too, but soybean prices, if things happen in South America and we come back and we're still looking dry as we go into spring.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate your commentary this week.
Thank you.
Have a great week.